Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Marketing Mondays. It is Monday, April 25th, 2022. And hopefully you guys have had a great weekend and are ready for a big week. We're going to get started here in about a minute. As always, I'm trying to start these a little bit, just like a minute early now, so that I have time to ping some of the groups in so that we're not wasting any of the 30 minutes of the episode. So I appreciate you guys giving me a minute to get going here. And again, I'm going to try to make sure that we don't cut into any of the, any of the episode by the time to ping people in being there. So good to see you in here, Eric. Hope everybody again had a great weekend. I think the weather is really starting to turn across the country. I know the Midwest has been dealing with a little bit of bad weather, so that's been creating some issues for some people. But anyway, I think this last weekend there was really good weather everywhere. So hopefully everybody had a great weekend, got the chance to spend some time outdoors and things like that. We're going to jump right in today because there are a lot of questions that have come in. But as always, if you're new to the Marketing Mondays, if you put a comment into when you're listening, if you just put a comment in, I see them come across the right-hand side of the screen, and I will answer those. I will always give a priority to the questions that people are sending in live while we're in here. So if you have any questions or comments, or if I answer a question and you have a follow-up question, put those in the comments, and I will always make a priority to get to those for the people that are here live. So, but that said, we always get questions in during the week, so we will get started with those. One of the things that came up this last week was, what can we do for marketing for people that are really on a budget? And it was one of the questions that was asked in a group online and things like that. I asked the question, and a lot of people had some great responses. So I wanted to dive into that as far as like, okay, you're a new business, you don't have a lot of marketing budget, but what could you do to actually, get some solid marketing without having a big budget? Like, you don't have money for Facebook ads, you don't have money for Google AdWords. Maybe you barely have a website up or don't have a website up at all. So what could you do to get started? So really practical, advice on that. So the first thing I would say that you should do if you're just getting started and you don't have any marketing budget, make sure that you absolutely create and verify your Google business page. It's critical that you do this. If you want localized marketing, if you want to be seen locally on Google, it is critical that you do this. Even if you don't have a website, there's actually even a module within Google My Business where you can create a Google website based on the information you put into Google My Business. So you can even create yourself a temporary website on Google at no charge to you by creating this Google business page. And it actually takes the pictures you've loaded up and the products and services that you put in and things like that to actually fully populate this page. And you can actually send a URL. Like, let's say you procured a URL, so you have a domain, but you don't have a website yet. You can actually point that domain at this Google website and use that until you have the budget or things like that to create another website. It's super simple to do. All you have to do is completely fill out your Google business page, and it kind of does the rest. You have a couple design options and things like that, but in general, you don't have to really pay anything, and it kind of creates a website that at least functions for you, has your hours of operation, your contact information, and things like that, and can function for you for free until you get another website built. Plus, your Google My Business page is going to be working from a local SEO standpoint for you as well. So again, we are starting at the very beginning at scratch, is what people ask me to talk about. Like, you don't have a budget, what could you do? Obviously, if you know the name of your company and you can procure that URL or that domain name on GoDaddy or one of the other registrars, I would recommend doing that. Typically, that's going to cost you, if it's just a standard name, that's going to cost you $10 to $20 a year. So not a big expense, but a little bit of an expense, but you kind of should procure a domain. Go ahead, create and build out your Google business page. Go ahead and do the free website part of that and then repoint the domain that you procured at that website. So right now for $0, well, I shouldn't say $0, let's just say $20 to procure your domain, you now have a website and you have a functioning back end of a localized SEO effort with regard to your Google business page. So that is the very foundation. You've spent $20 and you now have a functional presence online. Obviously, I would recommend that you create a Facebook page for your business. If you already have a Facebook account, go in and create a Facebook page for your business. If you're into other platforms like TikTok or Instagram, I'd recommend creating a company page on there as well. You can use those, tie those in. Then what I'd begin doing, if you're already doing some business, have a procedure in place to begin to try to collect some Google reviews. Again, you don't have to give, if it's a genuine review, you don't have to give anything away to solicit it or whatever, but start with your Google page now up and operational. Start trying to ask the customers you're doing business with if they'd mind giving you a review, especially if you're open with saying, hey, we just started the business, we could really use the review. Some people that are really happy with you may be happy to help out and give you that review. That's really going to give your page and your Google business listing a bump start if you can get some reviews flowing. Again, make sure all that content is filled out correctly. Your products, your services, everything is filled out correctly. And then the next thing you can do is begin adding content to your Google business page. You can add pictures to your Google page. We've talked a lot in this program about optimizing images. You want to add optimized images into your Google business page. Make sure that they are geotagged for, take your pictures with your phone and automatically, if you have your location services on, will geotag where that picture was taken, which is going to help with the SEO. Then you can also retitle the picture and you can add tags and you can add a description. I would do all that. I would add those pictures to your Google business page. You can post on your Google business page much the same way that you post to your Facebook page or anywhere else. I would begin posting. Google likes to see activity. The reason I continue to harp and focus on Google is they represent over 50%, or not over 50%, over 90% of the website search traffic out there. So if somebody's searching for your product or service, you having a good presence on Google is imperative. It is critical. Above and beyond everything else, you need to have a solid presence on Google. These are all things, everything I've mentioned so far is completely free outside of the $20 to procure your domain name for the first year. So again, I don't want to get into a conversation because one of the things people ask me to do is really talk about just a grassroots, I don't have money, what can I do? Everything we're talking about right now outside of the domain, which is $20 for an entire year, is completely free. You don't have to pay any hosting fees for the Google business website, the little thing they allow you to do. You don't have to pay any money to post pictures on Google Business, do posts on Google Business. This is all for free. So right now, that is one of the things I would do. So that's on a digital front. Now let's talk about some other things you can do. Some of the people have talked about going out and putting flyers on cars in parking lots, going to local, if you're in the window film industry and the automotive side of it, going to car shows and handing out flyers, handing out business cards, things like that. Grassroots type things. It's going to cost you a little bit of money for printing, but again, it's more your time than it is anything. I would be active on certain localized groups. A lot of places have local groups that talk about anything from home improvement to car related groups on Facebook and things like that. Join some of those groups, be active, answer questions when they come up. All these things, I shouldn't say they're free because they do take your time, but they don't cost you anything. And when you're starting your business, sometimes when you're not buried in business, you have time. And this is where you can really use your time to your advantage to be on these platforms and doing these things that aren't costing you any money to really begin to get some momentum running with your business. So in the beginning, I would be reaching out to people, reach out to your customers, send them a thank you email, letting them know if you have a review system set up with TintWiz, or if you're doing something else, maybe put a link in there, say, hey, we hope you're happy with our service. If you'd be open to it and consider, we would really appreciate a review. Have a way to try to start to solicit those reviews. Outside of that, again, a lot of it, I think, is just grassroots, trying to engage with the community, engaging in groups. These are all digital things, but you can also, like I said, go the route of old school, just going and handing out flyers and things like that. Try to get in front of people, do demos at car shows. Like sometimes people are very interested in that. So you can go and offer to do a free demo, which is going to add some excitement to the actual event, but you're also exposing your business to a lot of people that are there as well. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. Also, if you do different sides of the different business, make sure that when you're have a customer that's doing business with you on one side of your business, that you have a mechanism in place to expose them to the other things that you do as well. Sometimes your best customers are people that are already doing business with you, but aren't aware of other products and services you offer. So have a mechanism in place to expose them to the other products and services that you offer. So again, there's countless different things that you can do that aren't going to cost you money or cost you no money or very little money to get the word out. And I would engage in all those things. Be active in all those things. The thing you've got on your side when you're new to the business is time. When you're new with your business is time. And I would take advantage of that to really get some of these things rolling. So I hope that answers the question on what some of the basic, like small business marketing, no budget or little budget, the things you can do to get the ball rolling. And I hope that helps a couple of you guys come up with some ideas of things that you can do. So not having money is not an excuse to not be active online and active digitally. You could have a very good presence online without having a lot of money to spend. Obviously, when you have money to spend, you can accelerate that process and you can do some different things like that, but you don't have to have money to get the process started. So again, I hope that helps, and jump into the next question. If anybody has any questions about any of that, comments, whatever, put them in the comments. I'd be glad to jump at that and answer some additional questions with regard to that. It's a huge topic. We could continue to talk about it, and I don't mind continuing to talk about it. I just want, if you guys have specifics, let me know. The other thing we talked about in a recent article I wrote was about how much noise, if you will, is out on social media right now, and what you could do to actually make your company stand out. I actually wrote an article about this to talk about 3 different things that you can do. And the thing I want to talk about right now with regard to this is, again, some people ask for a little bit of a clarification on this. So the biggest thing you need to do when you're thinking about social media and how much people are consuming and how quickly they're scrolling is, how do you stop the scroll? How do you stop the scroll? If somebody's scrolling and you don't have something that's going to grab their attention right away, guess what? They're going to move on. They're going to look at the next post, the next post, the next post. They're going to scroll right past you. So the very first question you have to ask yourself is the creative, and when I say that, I don't want to use marketing speak, the picture, the video, the actual header image for the video, you can change that. You can make that whatever you want. Is that content or that creative strong enough to stop the scroll? If the answer to that is no or maybe, that right there should cause you to step back and say, okay, I need to fine tune this. Because the very first thing you need to do is stop the scroll. If you do not stop the scroll, nothing else that you've written, the copy you've written, what button you use, anything like that is not go. Even if you're paying for the ad, you still have to stop the scroll because you're paying for the ad to get in front of people, but people are still scrolling and your ad is just showing up in their scroll. So whether you're paying for the ad or whether you're trying to get organic reach, you have to ask yourself, how is this going to stop the scroll? If the answer is no or maybe or I don't know, I think you need to stop right there and take another look at it and see how you can improve it to stop the scroll. Because everything else, no matter how much money you pay, no matter how you set up your ad, no matter how great the copy you wrote is, if nobody stops, they're not going to see it. The second thing, after you stop the scroll, if you feel comfortable that your creative is going to stop the scroll, the very second thing is that first sentence of copy, the first line of copy. Does that grab somebody's attention? Does it pull them in? If the answer to that is no, again, even if you originally got them to stop the scroll, the very first thing they're going to do is headline read. And if that very first sentence doesn't grab their attention, you have a very real chance that at that point in time, they're going to bounce out anyway. Even though you got them to stop, they're going to bounce out anyway because now you don't have their attention. And so don't waste that first sentence. Don't use that like with a lot of books or things like that. A lot of times that initial sentence or that first couple sentences is to kind of bring you into the situation, to sort of welcome you in to the beginning of the narrative. You can't do that on social media. You don't have that kind of time. You have to basically get right to the point, grab somebody's attention because they are not going to read 3 or 4 or 5 sentences to wait for you to get to the point. You have to get to the point right out of the gate. And that's where that first sentence, or if you want to call it a headline, think of it as a headline. And I think it'll get you in a better spot with how that needs to be written. Now, so, okay, you've stopped the scroll. You've got their attention with the headline. Now, if you've got their attention, they may begin to read the second, third, fourth sentence of the copy. Now that's when you want to pull them in. Give them a little bit of direction. What do you want them to do? Call for more information? Click on the link below to get more information, sign up for a free whatever or whatever. You need to begin to tell them what you want them to do with those next couple sentences. And you need to get to the point. People are not going to read paragraph after paragraph unless it's something that's very specific to them and they may read. But in the general, when you're trying to reach the masses, those next couple questions need to get right to the point of what you're trying to get them to do. Again, give them enough information that where they're interested. If you'd like more information, click the link below. If you'd like to schedule a free quotation, call us at the number below. Get to the point right away. People don't have time. People will, if they feel like they've got to spend too much time on a post, they will scroll right by. So again, the 3 things to be thinking about is with regard to social media. Stop the scroll. Number one thing. If nothing else gets through to you about this Marketing Mondays question, stop the scroll. You have to stop the scroll. Number 2, the headline. Engage them with something. Grab their attention with that, with the headline. Number 3, give them instructions of what you want them to do. Now, when I say instructions, I don't mean in a very formal like way. I just mean guide them. I mean, okay, now you've got their attention. They're kind of interested in what you're saying. What do you want them to do? Do you want them to click on a link? Do you want them to call you? Give them some instructions. So those are the 3 things to keep in mind. If you keep those things in mind as you're looking at your posts, as you're reviewing your post before you post it, I think you're going to have stronger posts. Those are going to work better for you, not only organically, they're going to work better for you in an ad as well. Because again, ads just place your post in somebody else's stream. That doesn't, if you're not using good creative to stop the scroll, grab their attention and give them directions, I don't care if you're running ads. You're still not going to get the engagement you would get otherwise, even though you're putting it in front of more people because the post isn't working. You still have to stop the scroll and you still have to do those things, whether you're trying to do it organically or paid. So hopefully that helps. I think I got a couple questions. I always have, Jordan says, I always have at the bottom, click this link above for a quote. Exactly, Jordan. One of the things I was mentioning is you have to give people some instructions. You have to tell them what you want them to do. People can't figure out, like, you can't put some post out there and expect that somebody's going to figure out what you'd like them to do or what your offer is or what you would like to see them do. You don't have to spell it out, like I said, in a real formal way, but let them know what you'd like them to do. If you want them to contact you for a free quote, say, click this link to contact us for a free quote. So hopefully that helps. I appreciate you following up with that, Jordan. I think it's a good example of one of the ways you can kind of instruct people how to do it. And I heard something on another podcast, and I apologize because I don't know who to give credit to or who to reference it with, but I'd like to cite somebody so they get credit, but the comment was solve a migraine problem, not a headache problem. So when you're thinking about ways to stop that scroll and to get somebody's attention, think about how your product or service solves a migraine problem, not a headache problem. If you have a headache, you can go about your day and it doesn't really, you can get by. You can continue to do all the normal things you'd normally do in a day. And a headache's just going to be a nuisance. It's going to bother you. If you have a migraine, that tends to bring your entire day to a stop because that migraine has got your full attention and it's very hard to focus on anything else. So if people have migraine problems and you have a solution to that, like talk about that, whether it's your product can help stop hardwood floor fading. And somebody just got a hardwood floor and they noticed after a couple months, they pull back the edge of an area rug and they're starting to see some fading. That's a migraine. They're now worried about that and they want to find a solution, and your post could offer a solution to that. So again, you really have to you have to think about it like, what does your product or service do that is going to solve a problem in that person's life, and not just a nuisance. If you really want to, grab their attention and stop the scroll, what are the migraine problems that your product can solve? I can't answer that for all of you, but if you think about it like that, what are the migraine problems, not the headache problems? I think it'll give you some ways to stop that scroll. So Jordan says, I feel like my creative is the hardest part for me. It can be, Jordan. I agree. I think that you have to find your particular voice and be genuine to that. I mean, everybody throws around the term transparency now, but I think you do have to be genuine and you have to be transparent. People can feel when people are a little bit too polished or a little bit too, it's a little bit too staged or a little bit too canned of an approach. So I would say, try not to create a situation that's not genuine to who you are, even if you think that might work for your company. Ultimately, it has to be true to the DNA of you and your company, or it's not going to, it's not going to work as well. So anyway, I hope that hopefully those type of things. And Jordan, I know you asked a question earlier about the small business tips that cost little or no money. And I covered that. That was the very first question I covered. So if you came in late and you didn't see that, go back and watch the beginning of this video, because one of the things I really covered in the very beginning was things you could do on little or no budget to help your business. So hopefully you can check that out. If you have any follow-up questions, let me know. Got another question that came in that's kind of an interesting thing. And it says, I've heard the term inbound marketing. What exactly is that, and how does it differ from regular marketing? So obviously, you guys probably have a good concept of marketing is a way to promote your business, is a way to put your business in front of people. So inbound marketing is a way for you to expose your business to people in a way that maybe doesn't feel so salesy, doesn't feel so marketing. So let me give you some examples of what that means, because it's not really that complicated. It's just it's a term people use, and it's not as complicated as a lot of people may think. It's a way to create visibility for your company, and put your company in front of people in a way to solve a problem. We just talked about solving problems. To solve a problem in a way that you're addressing somebody's problems, you're not promoting your business. So let's use the example that I just used a minute ago about your product can help prevent hardwood floor fading or furniture fading or flooring fading in somebody's home. So you might write a blog or create a series of posts about how much of a tragedy it is, how you don't want to like ruin your new investment in hardwood floors or furniture, things like that, by allowing them to fade, and saying, check out this article with 3 ways to help prevent fading. And maybe your product or service is just one of those 3 ways. I mean, it's not, you don't want it to go immediately into call us, we've got the solution. It's more informational. You're sharing information with people that can help solve a problem in an article type way, in an information type way. And your product or service is one of those things that can help them with that issue. Or, as far as the education, maybe they're a little bit more informed about your product or service than they were before. So you're using different marketing to sort of put your product or service in front of people, but not on the front end. You're sort of addressing a problem to begin with, and then you're bringing them in and then exposing them to your company as part of a potential solution to them. So, you can use this, from a brand awareness standpoint, to just sort of build your brand. You're not really throwing, for a marketing speak, you're not throwing a right hook. You're not trying to say, hey, call us for more information. You're just trying to spread general information, of which, if people are interested, that's going to be something that your product or service can help them with. We actually do this with Window Film Pros, a company or a organization that I run that tries to raise awareness for the different things that window film and window tint can do to people. We share a lot of information that is directed at saving energy, preventing hardwood floors from fading, a whole host of different things with regard to, making an office more comfortable, increasing privacy. We write content based on those types of things. And then as part of that content, window film is one of the solutions in many cases. So that helps to bring people in where somebody might not click on a post or an article about window film because they don't even really know that they're interested. They may click on a post that talks about destinations. To take this outside the window film industry, let's say you're trying to talk about, let's say that you are in a destination place like Hilton Head, South Carolina, and you have a entertainment type of business. Let's say you do, the indoor skydiving type thing. So, you may approach people that might be interested in Hilton Head with an article about 10 fun things to do when the weather doesn't cooperate in Hilton Head. Something like that, where you put it across people's feed and they're planning a Hilton Head vacation and they see 10 exciting things to do in Hilton Head when the weather's not cooperating. Sometimes in Hilton Head, you get rain, things like that. So the weather's not cooperating. So you come up with 10 things that people can do indoors when the weather's not great. And obviously your, indoor skydiving thing is part of that. But how did you bring people in? People didn't necessarily click on an indoor skydiving post. They clicked on to find out 10 things that they could do on their vacation if the weather turns sour. Your solution is one of those things. I think this is a strategy that almost any business can utilize in marketing, whether you're a restaurant, whether you're an indoor entertainment company, a window film company. You can figure out ways that you can engage people and grab somebody's interest about something and then include your product or service as part of the solution. Not the only one, but part of the solution. And I think you're going to find that you get a lot more people engaging with your post, and you put yourself in front of a lot more people that way, because they may not have clicked on a post specific to your product or service, but they're interested in this overarching theme. And my example, things to do in Hilton Head when the weather doesn't cooperate. So I really hope that gives you some good ideas with regard to how to create some inbound marketing where people are, coming to you, not based on something you did specifically to market your business, but because you're exposing them to a bigger theme, and then your product or service is part of that. So I think I got time for one more question. Okay, so this, I think it plays right along with this. So I'm going to go ahead and answer this question, and then we'll finish up for the day. It says, should my content be based on current events or current things happening in the media, or focused around being evergreen? I think it's a great question, because a lot of people like to do what's called like trend hacking. So if you find out a bunch of people are talking about things online, or certain situation, like let's go back a couple weeks when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock, somebody might feel like, hey, if I can create some content that sort of, alludes to that or sort of plays off that, I maybe can like trend hack or get some traffic that I might normally not get. So that would be like how you could potentially play off current events, or just, if things are going on and you have a post that's relative to that. I mean, sometimes it works really well because it's in people's minds and things like that, and your post sort of plays along with that. Versus what we would potentially call evergreen content, which is content that doesn't really have anything to do with current events. Because even as I say this while I'm giving this Marketing Mondays, I'm talking about the Will Smith slap of Chris Rock. Well, again, 3 months from now, this whole video is going to seem a little bit dated because now that reference is 4 months old instead of just recently. So I think you have to create a mix with your content of evergreen content and maybe playing a little bit with current events when possible. If that, like last week was Earth Day. So if your product or service has some way that it can parlay into Earth Day, you may create some content in and around the Earth Day topic. But you don't want to totally rely on that. I think you need to create evergreen content, which means it's valid or it's relevant regardless of the time of the year or whatever. If somebody looks at it 6 months from now, it'll be just as relevant as it is today. That would be like evergreen content versus current event content. I think ideally your frequency and your cadence of posting should be maybe a little bit of both of those things. If you have current events you can weave in there, by all means do that. If your local sports team is doing well and you can create a post around that local sports team, great. I think people are engaged, people are interested, excited about the sports team. If you can find a way to engage, use that in your content, you might get some additional exposure there. But I don't think you can completely rely on that and just try to go from one current event to the next, to the next, to the next. You need to weave that in there with some of this, what I'm calling evergreen content as well. And I think you'll find you have a good mix of different things. So by all means, if there's things that you can do that are current, localized, relevant, new, by all means use those, but don't get to the point where you 100%, that's your entire content playlist, if you will. So anyway, I hope that this helps. We are right up against, I actually went a couple minutes past. I apologize for that. Hopefully you guys are having a great day so far. Hopefully you're going to have a terrific week. Thank you for spending the first part of it with me for Marketing Mondays. And as always, I hope that this time was valuable to you. With that, I will say goodbye and we will see you next week. Take care.